Hey, it's Chris from The Chris Stefanic Show, where we dive into how to live a more joyful life every day, the kind of life that God created you for. Check it out. Gender dysphoria, that's when people don't identify with their biological bodies, is very real, and it's a massive cross for those who bear it. So people who struggle with gender dysphoria, who are often going through pain that would be very hard for us to relate with, we who don't struggle with that need to be treated with respect, need to be treated with compassion, and need to feel welcomed and safe in society like anybody else. But in the past few years, we've watched what has been traditionally a cross that very few people bear transform into a cultural movement that's essentially popularized that cross and spread the pain of gender dysphoria to a lot of people who wouldn't otherwise struggle with it. In the past few years, as we watch this movement, we're watching Christian anthropology and the Christian worldview be relabeled hateful and bigoted. We're seeing counseling that people might do to help young people become comfortable in their own skin be relabeled harmful. And we've seen an explosion of people who identify as trans. Traditionally, it's been about 0.1% of the population. Today, there was a study done in a major U.S. city that showed about 9% of teenagers did not identify with the body of their birth, and 78% of teenage girls only identify as cisgender and straight. Wow. In the UK, they've seen a 4,400% increase in gender dysphoria among teenage girls in 10 years. In 2007, there was one trans clinic in America. Now there's 300 of them. And in many of them, a young person could go in without a doctor's note, without having seen a counselor, and leave with testosterone treatment. In Oregon, you can go into a transgendered clinic at the age of 15 and get a mastectomy without a parent's note. And so much as questioning any of this can get you canceled, can lose your medical license. So the response has been fear, even questioning this in sports, where we're seeing UFC champs who are male to female transgenders, weightlifting champs who are male to female transgenders. Even questioning this stuff will lose your job, your career, your friends. What the heck is going on? Here to help us make sense of it all, my dear friend Jason Everett.
Good to be with you again.
You too, brother. Jason, you're an expert on all things human sexuality related. For better or worse, I know you've told me sometimes you've gone to a restaurant after a day of chastity talks, and what might you hear from a teenager sitting across the restaurant? There's the sex guy.
Yeah, I remember that one. Yeah. Check, please.
Yeah. Dude, what are we dealing with? How many genders are there right now? Let's get a bit more of the landscape of how bad things are getting in this area.
Well, it depends who you ask. I know a girl applied at Stanford University. She showed me her college application on the phone. 18 to pick from, male and female, not options on the list. Facebook's up to 58. Facebook in the UK is 71. Tumblr has more than 500. So
500.
Oh yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, intersex, non-binary, transmasculine, two-spirit, gender neutral, gender non-conforming, gender flora, gender astro.
Hold on, gender flora. Stop right there. What is that?
It's a gender that blooms and evolves. That's similar to a plant-like thing, but it's a non-binary. I mean, you start reading the definitions, and it's like, what the heck is going on? Like, is this, like, I had enough identity crisis growing up when there were two to pick from.
Oh, yeah.
And now these kids are being like, oh, you could be one of 500. It's like, what is going on? I mean, I think it's kind of what Vatican II said, that when God's forgotten, the creature itself becomes unintelligible.
Amen. And, you know, and I don't mean to make light of it, but it is laughable when you think of gender flora.
Oh, yeah, no.
I mean,
there's astral gender, astrogender, that involves celestialism, and like, it's like, our humanity is being hijacked right now.
Yeah, and I would think people who traditionally just struggle with gender dysphoria, and thought I'm a male, but I feel like I'm a female, would take offense at things like gender flora.
Yeah, and perhaps rightly
so. I'm not hearing it. I'm not hearing that complaint happen. But I'm wondering when that's going to come.
Yeah, no.
Because there's a genuine struggle, and then there's obviously some stuff born of teenage angst. Because when I hear gender flora, what I hear is, look at me, and I can't stand my parents.
Yeah, there's even one trend called trans trender.
Trans-trender.
Meaning they're identifying as trans because it's trendy, And if they feel socially isolated and they come out in their public high school as trans something, they're immediately at least welcomed by somebody. And they're actually being groomed for this in the schools of just like, oh, well, you don't fit the perfect stereotypical norm of a 16-year-old girl. Well, maybe you're not a girl. And they're being groomed in preschool on these things.
Or, wow, you're 13 and a girl and you're not comfortable in your body?
Yeah, well.
Like 90% of teenage girls at 13? Maybe you're in the wrong body.
Yeah.
And they're taught this, and then we wonder why this explosion's happening.
Yeah.
You know, and then they're brought into a special club of people who has unique status, protection, cause. But I think it's so obvious that it's a cultural phenomenon.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
There's literally no scientific evidence that people are born transflora,
Yeah. Yeah.
gender fluid.
Yeah.
Like
Yeah.
zero scientific evidence. And you can see throughout history that there's cultural phenomena that shape even sexual desires. Like in Sparta, it was very common. Pedophilia was very common. Is that because they were all born that way?
Yeah.
You know, no, it was a cultural norm that shaped it. So it seems obvious to people like us that there's cultural phenomena and norms shifting, and that are giving rise to this. But the accusation would be, no, it's always been there.
Yeah.
But people were too afraid to say it.
Yeah.
How would you respond to that?
Well, I think true and false. I mean, we've always historically struggled with our sexuality in one way or another. Am I truly manly? Am I, like, gender dysphoria is something that's been around for a very long time. But like you said, the cultural chaos right now has been lighter fluid on it. Whereas 50 years ago, if someone experienced this, be like, oh, I don't feel like I really fit in real well, you know, with masculinity and these social norms and stereotypes. And okay, I'm into theater and I'm into art and I'm into poetry and I'm on the football team, and they worked through it.
Did you like that clip? Be sure to click subscribe so you never miss out on our great content that's going to help you live life to the full.